This is an original rivet from the Sutton ship. It was excavated in the 1967 dig when the British Museum went back to Sutton to do another excavation on the Mound 1 of the ship. At the time, they all stayed at the Angel Inn in Woodbridge, which was owned by my uncle Eric. And subsequently, when they left, they gave this rivet to Eric's daughter, my cousin Georgina, who was aged around 16 at the time. And she's had it in a box in her garage ever since. And it was only when I happened to meet her recently at another cousin's birthday party, and we were talking about the ship, she said, "Oh, I've got a rivet." And so I asked her to loan it to us, and this is it. So you can see it's a pretty encrusted rivet, and it's in 3 sections, unfortunately. But not only was Georgina given the rivet, but it also turns out that Eric, who owned a haulage company at the time, and on the 1967 excavation, they also made plaster of Paris casts of the imprint of the ship. And it was a technique developed by the then conservator at the British Museum, Peter Van Giersdale, who worked for Robert Bruce Mitford's department. And Peter Van Giersdale lived in Woodbridge. He also bought a house off Eric, and I happened to know Peter and his family as well at the time. Although I knew he worked at the British Museum, I never knew exactly what he did, which is a great shame because it was a real missed opportunity. But anyhow, so the moulds that were made at the 1967 dig were transported subsequently over the next 3-week period. They were transported to the British Museum warehouse in London, where they were subsequently stored. And I know that they did eventually made a fiberglass model of the hull of the ship, which I believe now is in the National Maritime Museum in London, who Peter Van Giersdale subsequently went and worked for in their archaeological department. So this rivet has a real local story attached to it. You can see that the original rivet here is resting on the drawings, the reproduction drawings that we have showing all the original rivet positions and detail of the ship, alongside the replica rivet. And you can see that here we've got the rove and the actual nail with the nail head, which corresponds with the original rivet, with the rove this end, the shaft of the nail and the nail head that end. And if I can this is unfortunately broken into 3 sections, but if you look at the shaft, you can just hopefully see that the shaft is corroded from the inside. Very much the same dimensions, more or less, as the replica rivet.